I had a client, an old client, and he called me and he said, listen, he's in a new business. He says, look, I've lodged a patent for this invention. And he said, look, I reckon I need, X dollars. I said, look, that's great. Send me through what you've got. And I'm expecting to get some financial forecasts and some background. He sends me through the patent application. So using that, what would your advice be? Do you think I'm on the right track? And how can a cash flow forecast help the business owner get their head around all of those important questions?
Yeah, I think you're entirely on the right track. In fact, what we're talking about here is the steeplechase. So we're not really. It's not a decathlon event, but it's one of the events at the Olympics. You run around the track and you get hurdles in the way. The first hurdle here is that I fully believe a cash flow forecast is necessary, if for no other reason than to put the ideas that this guy's got on paper, to commit numbers to it, to show that he's thought through the process of what it will take to take this patent, turn it into a product, commercialize it, launch it, grow it, protect against competition, manufacture it at scale, all the rest. There's a ton of things that have to happen clearly between having a piece of paper called a patent and having a successful business based on that technology. Massive amounts of effort. But the first thing, often someone like that would say is, yeah, but how do I forecast? I've no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to price this thing at. I don't know how it's going to be made. I don't know what it's going to cost. And so they put up the first hurdle of, I just don't know. And, in a broader sense, this idea of forecasting and uncertainty is sometimes people seem to think it's not possible. I think forecasting is entirely possible in uncertainty, but you've got to do it the right way. And this is where we get to, the forecast is not all about slapping some numbers on a piece of paper. The forecast is a disciplined process, and the numbers are just the outcome of the process. So I would be saying to this guy that the next hurdle you get. So I'm saying first, yes, do a forecast. Next hurdle is, well, what do I put on? What do I assume is going to happen in the business? And here, I think you get to the real heart of forecasting, which is being able to be prepared for anything. It's not about predicting; it's about being prepared for multiple different scenarios. So scenario modeling, I think, is an important part of forecasting. Because if you think about it, a forecast that he might present to you is one set of numbers that represent one response to one set of assumed circumstances. And therefore, that thing that he presents to you ignores every other possible circumstance. And therefore, it's easier for any financier, whether they're an investor or like an equity or debt financier, to poke holes in that set of assumptions, because one forecast is only one story. So I'd be then saying, let's sit down and do this as a disciplined process of scenario modeling. Number one, we start with what are the possible scenarios you can see, and you'll cut it down to 3 or 5 different possibilities. He's got a few phases in his business. One is, so he's got the idea, then he's got to get the prototype product, assuming it's a product here. Then he's got to work on fine-tuning that, getting some market feedback. So there's that first bit of proving the product. Okay, so you can make some assumptions about that, the amount of time and amount of money it might cost to prove the product up. Then there's the actual launch and commercialization, and that means he's got to go put a business together. All those 10 things that Porter talked about. One of them was technology, and operations to create the product. The other 9 are also equally important when it comes to building a business.